this machine is called a Slitter, and the Slitter, what it does is it linear cuts the long way of metal. So you try to cut anything on this, first thing you do is it has these two knobs right here. You loosen the knobs and it slides forward and backwards, and it actually has the dimensions all in 1/8 inch increments. So it goes all the way from 1 inch all the way up to 23 inches. So you set your dimension, what you need.
I'll just show like where it's got the numbers on top.
You set your numbers with this line. You take these knobs, you lock it, turn it on, and then once you turn it on, the metal will go inside this little track here, inside this slot. You'll turn it on. You always make sure that this side of the machine, you stay on this side of the machine. You never go past the center line of the machine. And if you look at this table, all this stuff laying here, we have to clean all this up first and get it out of the way. Because as you run metal through the machine, what happens is it'll jam up and catch all those pieces of metal. So you always want to make sure before you run things through the machine, there's nothing underneath your feet, there's no obstacles anywhere, because as you walk through, if you got stuff underneath your feet, you can trip and fall and get cut. So our first lesson is to wear gloves, being safe first. If you have safety glasses, wear glasses to protect your eyes from little pieces coming off. And if the pieces are small enough, we just throw them away because they're useless. And if they're bigger pieces, we move them out of the way. And once you get this side all cleaned up, you can operate the Slitter. The Slitter itself, once you start running metal through the Slitter, the only way to stop it is this. So if it starts and it starts going crooked or anything like that, you just let it go because it's so strong and powerful. It's literally like a guillotine. Once it starts, you're not going to stop it. Safety wise, that's why it's so important. Make sure nobody's standing on this side of the machine when you're running it, because it'll just cut right through your body and cut you right in half. And so now the exiting side of the machine is clear. We set the machine so you have different dimensions. So we're going to do a thing called slips and drives. We're going to make slips first. A slip is 3 5/8. So we set this machine for 3 5/8. And what I do is lock it down, and I'll turn it on, and I'll make one and do it as a test fit. So I'll take this, stick it in there, make sure it's flat, and always stay on this side of the machine, and as it runs through, it goes up the other side. And I'll take that one piece and then dry fit it over here in this machine. This machine here is called a triplex machine. It goes into this track here. You turn this machine on. It goes to one side. It comes out the other, and that's your slip. Now if you look and see how that got bent up like that? Okay, that's either machine needs to be clean or the slip was too small. In our case, the slip was a tiny bit too small. If the slip is too small, what you do is you open it up and make it just a little bit bigger. So even though it's 3 5/8 on this machine over the years, that little lever can move. And so it can be off as much as 1/8 of an inch. So then you make this, that's why we don't make a bunch of them until we test fit them, because then you make them all wrong. So we'll take the next piece. I made it a hair bigger. Same thing here on the side of the machine. Shut the machine off. See how much smoother that one came out and don't have all the wrinkles in it? So that's what you want. You want it to come out nice and smooth on both sides, like my head. You know? And once you know it works and everything, then you'll just do repetitively. You just make a bunch of them. So what you do, turn the machine on, make sure it's in the track, one after the other. And before you put your hands in the machine, always make sure you shut it off, because you always want to make sure this machine's not running when you go to reach for something, in case it grabs it. And if you want to see what not to do, when you're saying that machine goes crooked, and anytime you use this machine, if say you have a piece of 24-inch metal and you got to cut 4 inches off, you don't cut 24 minus 4 is 20, right? You don't cut the biggest piece in here. You always try to cut the smallest piece. So if I cut 20 inches, I'll show you what will happen. If I cut real big here, that metal, the bigger the piece you cut, the more chance it's going to bow. And what will happen is something like this. That piece of metal will come through in the track. And it goes to the center. It'll come crooked. So that's why it's so important to cut the smallest piece of metal in here so you don't get the bow. And if you got the smallest piece cutting, then the stable piece is in your hands, and so the machine's less likely to curve and hurt you. Because what happens is the cutting and wasting a piece of metal is one thing. This kicking out and cutting your hands open or cutting your belly open is very dangerous. So you do the math and always cut the smallest piece of metal in the machine, and that way it's much safer to operate like that. Cool. 2 1/8. So the drive is the other thing that we use. So we set that for 2 1/8. Same thing, set it, lock it down, machine on. And then you dry fit it. Same thing with this, if it's too small, it'll wrinkle. If it's too big, it'll jam the machine up. So what I do.
The different tracks, maybe show where it's on different tracks.
Yeah, see, so this one's the slip, the wide one, and the skinny one's this track. And then you lay it down. And it comes out the other side.
Triplex slip on one side.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the drive. Okay. And then the slip, if you look at it, it looks just like the letter S. So that's how you can tell the difference. It's actually shaped like the letter S. And those are the two biggest things we use. Alex, all the scrap metal. So when he cuts metal, that's that 20% waste we're talking about. But if we turn that waste into slips and drives, then we have less than 3% waste. So basically, an average sheet of metal's $30. So if it's $30 and everything, that's $9 a sheet you're throwing away. You're throwing $9 away if you don't use it. So basically, instead of throwing $9 in the trash, we use that scrap metal and everything to make slips and drives. Because this drive is $1 linear foot when you buy it, and a slip's like $2 a linear foot. So if we make them ourselves and everything, so that right there, that's $4. So and that's worth taking the scrap and everything and using the time to make it and well with it.
Good stuff.
You know.